Hello, my name is Stephen Bailey, and as with so many people who do amateur YouTube videos, I have something I want to get off my chest, and so I thought I'd deal with it this way. Uh, I'd probably be better off doing a written journal or a diary, written diary, but I figured since I have access to video, I'd like to share my thoughts and see if you have anything to say about them, good, bad, or indifferent. My situation goes that I am recording this on May 26, 2019. On April 1st of this year, after I had served for almost 7 years at the same job, I was informed that job of mine was being outsourced and that I would get to work for the company another 45 days and would receive severance pay after that. And then it's the unemployment line. Now, there are some plus sides to that, obviously. I know a lot of people who are out there who are unemployed wish they had that much of a security blanket to fall on. At least they didn't just kick me out in the cold one day because they didn't like something I did. So I sympathize with those who are far less fortunate than I am as far as their joblessness. But the fact remains that I am jobless, and I am 58 years old, and I'm really tired of this. I have been in the workforce for 36 years now, and I'm not going to say anything at all disparaging about my recent ex-employer. The job was good while it lasted. In fact, it was a wonderful job, probably the best I ever had in my life. I really enjoyed it. So I know nothing would come of me bad-mouthing anybody. I am just frustrated about the joblessness situation as it is. I really want to sink my teeth into something that I can do on a regular basis where I don't have to be worried about my next paycheck. And I was hoping that this job was the one because it was very, very promising for the first few years. I'm sure there are plenty of people out there who can relate. I don't understand how I can have so much job skills and still be so unemployable. And if this sounds like a pity party, I apologize, but that's the way I'm feeling right now. I have done so many jobs, and just to list a few of them from the major to the minor, I have been a public school teacher. I was an English teacher for 10 years. I've been a proofreader, a copywriter, a social media specialist, a data entry clerk, and then there's all the minor stuff that I've done. Temporary work through temp services. When I first got out of college, I worked at McDonald's for a few months. I mean, not that I expect to put McDonald's on my resume, having done that 35 years ago. But my point is, I feel like I'm, dare I say it, a Renaissance man when it comes to jobs. And it just seems as though somebody would be interested in having somebody with that much experience. I know there's definitely an age bias. No one would admit to it, but certainly they are going to look at somebody in their 20s and 30s who was applying for a job rather than in their late 50s. But there's a lot I can bring to the table, and I'd like to do so. If I don't fit the job qualification 100%, I'd like employers to look at the 90% that I do fit and say, gee, maybe we ought to take a chance on this guy, especially when you see the same job applications listed over and over, especially when the job application pops up for a while, then it goes off the screen for a while because they found somebody, and then it comes back on. I had years ago when I was looking for a job, I saw a job just a few miles away from me for which I felt perfectly qualified, and the pay was great. And I applied to it over and over for that very reason. It would be on the job list, and then it wouldn't be, and then it would be. And I always think to myself, would an employer like that be any worse off taking a chance on me than hiring somebody they're sure is a perfect fit and then firing them a few months later? I don't understand. So that's part of my frustration. The other part is the total lack of dignity to which employed people are sometimes subjected. And I have found that out since April 1st. I've been, of course, furiously pursuing jobs. And the funny thing is that trying to find a job is like trying to find a date when you're single. You feel like you're qualified for all, you're a good person, and you feel like, okay, why can't I can find somebody decent to date or who will accept me as I am. And then the semi-successes are more hurtful than the failures. At least when you fail once, if you put it in the job analogy, if you get a letter a couple weeks after you applied saying, "We're sorry, but you're not going to make our rounds of interviews. We're pursuing some other people," at least you know that. It's not pleasant, but at least they have had the dignity to come out and let you know that you're not being considered anymore. As opposed to employers who leave you hanging and you have to call 2 weeks later to find out that they've already filled the position. Just treat people with a little dignity and see it from our side a little bit. Again, that's the way I felt about dating when I was single, which happily I haven't been single for several decades, but that was the way I felt. And then when you had somebody that you dated for say, a few days or a couple of weeks and it seemed to go well, and all of a sudden they drop you, you start Monday morning quarterbacking. Well, gee, I thought I was hitting it off so well with her. We had all these dates. We had a lot to talk about. Then all of a sudden she dumps me for some strange reason. And it fits in the job situation too. You get an interview that I've grown leery of ever accepting interviews at face value because I've had some of the most wonderful job interviews I've ever had in the past month and a half, and those are for jobs that have already been filled by other people. The worst part about this unemployment situation is that I seem to have lifted up a rock and lots of con men and grifters came out from under it. It would seem to me, well, let's put it this way. When the World Wide Web first hit it big, a lot of people predicted that the online format would make it much easier for people to pursue and obtain jobs rather than having to type a ton of cover letters and endlessly fill out job applications. Now it could all be done online and we could get quicker responses. Well, there's something to that, but at the same time, as I say, there are so many strange things that have happened ever since I put my name out there as unemployed. The worst one is the robocalls, which I get every day, at least 2 or 3 of them. I get it from some unknown number, and I pick it up because I don't want to risk missing something. For all I know, it could be somebody I applied to who wants to have a job interview. But 9 times out of 10, it's a disembodied voice who says, "Hi, I am an employment supervisor," on a recorded line, and then I hear a click and they're gone. So after getting a few of those calls, finally dawned on old college graduate that it's a robocall and they call all these people, and if you're the lucky one who gets the call in time, you get to listen to their spiel. If not, you hear the first few seconds of it and then they hang up on you. Another problem that I have is phone text messages from callers who insist that they received your application and are ready and able to give you that 50 grand a year job you are just waiting for. Just call them. Now that message grabs your attention at first until you realize that A, they make no mention of the job that you supposedly applied for, and B, this message that's from the president of the company is riddled with the kind of spelling and grammatical errors that a real employer wouldn't even accept from a job applicant. Let me plead with you guys. If you're going to try and take advantage of an earnest job applicant, could you at least make your pleas look plausible? Another problem that I have is online employment services that seem to be legit because you look at them and they have plenty of good-looking job offerings. The trouble starts when you put yourself on their email mailing list and they send you basically the same job listings over and over and over, but they try to fob it off as your brand new daily job listings for you. I will admit that at the beginning of my job search, that ploy fooled me so much that several times I wasted a lot of time arduously filling out applications for jobs for which I had already applied. But again, when they pop up over and over, who's to tell? Unless it actually tells you that you've already applied for it, how can you tell? It could be something that you've forgotten about, and then you get all the way through the application process, and then they notify you, "Oh, we already have your application." Thanks, guys. Still, another problem I have is online job recruiters whose help never requested. This actually happened to me last week. A job recruiter, again, one who appeared to be legit because she was listed on LinkedIn, a job recruiter emailed me out of the blue, and she had insisted that she had two jobs for which I might be qualified. And after she described the jobs, she wrote to me, "Now, these jobs might not fit exactly what you have been looking for, but I think your job experience could bring a unique perspective to them." Well, that sounded to me like both a con job and a sales position. So when I read through the fake flattery, I replied to her and I said, "Thank you, but if these are actually sales jobs, I am not qualified for them, and it would be wasting your time and mine to interview me." To my surprise, the woman wrote me back, continuing to insist that I was right for these jobs and even scheduling an interview for me. So last Friday, or excuse me, this is a couple of weeks ago because I was still at my current job. But on the last Friday where I was working at that job, I left the job early, got to the interview site, and waited an hour to see the interviewer, only to find out that it was, guess what, a sales job. So, bottom line, for me at least, if online recruiters and fake text messengers have to lie to convince you that a job you haven't even applied for is perfect for your fit, then it must be one heck of a bad job. And finally, my all time favorite is a variation on the fake messenger ploy. The president of so and so company emails you that he has a job that is a perfect match for your skills, and it pays out the yin yang. Except that the email reads exactly like one of those letters you receive that says, "If you help a Nigerian prince move his vast fortune to America, you'll receive a piece of his fortune for your troubles." Yes, the job letter has the same bold type and voluminous spellings as the messages you get from that poor, troubled Nigerian prince. Maybe the company president should send his letter to the Nigerian prince, and both of them could get what they're looking for, or at least what they deserve. Now, happily, I am in a position where, at the moment at least, I can afford to laugh at these fake jobs offerings because thus far things are positive. Of course, I've barely waded my foot into the unemployment pool. I've only been actually unemployed for a week and a half, but I'm trying to be positive about it and hope that I find something soon and land on my feet. What is really bothersome is the millions of unemployed people whose finances are hanging by a thread, who are looking for a ray of hope in response to their job queries. And then, thanks to modern technology, this cross section of the middle and lower classes is being handily and cruelly exploited. So, my bottom line is to sum up, number one, I'm qualified for things. Give me a chance. I have a LinkedIn profile, if that's any help. Just look up under Steve Bailey, and my headline is social media specialist and creative writer. And again, if I don't fit it perfectly, if I fit 90%, that's probably better than 90% of the applicants. And secondly, if I'm going to be unemployed, it would be nice to treat me and all the unemployed people with a little more dignity and assuming that we have a little more intelligence than sometimes you want to assume. All right, that's me ranting. I don't know how far I'm going to carry this thing. I may turn it into a continuing vlog. I'm not sure. It might be based on the responses I get. But I really just wanted to get this out in the open, and if nothing else, it lets you know that as an unemployed person that you are not alone, that there are other people going through the same disheartening experiences that you are. So again, I welcome feedback on this. Please leave me a message on YouTube. If you would like to email me, my email is socialmediaspecialist61@gmail.com. That's all one word, socialmediaspecialist61@gmail.com. I hope you found this at least remotely entertaining and informative. And again, I do look forward to your feedback. So we'll see how this goes, and we'll see how my job search goes, and take it from there. In the meantime, thank you very much for your time, and I wish you a fond farewell.